My name is Ethan Caldwell, 42 years old, a sergeant with the 82nd Airborne, a soldier used to dust, gunfire, and death lurking around every corner. For months out here, in the heart of Afghanistan, I've been living on memories of Tacoma, the little house with the white daisy fence, Baxter the dog curling up at my feet, and Lydia, my wife of 13 years, the woman I thought was the flame keeping me warm through the coldest nights. I sat in the barracks, on a rusted iron cot, my old laptop humming like a tired friend. The dim screen glowed on my face, sweat beading on my forehead despite the freezing night. Around me, my buddies snored softly, a few muttering in their dreams, probably about family, about home. I opened my inbox, hoping for a line from Lydia, picture of Baxter, a quick check-in, or just a few words to remind me she was still there. Her emails, short as they were, had always been the thread pulling me through the long days in this war zone, where every step could be your last. Lydia and I met 14 years ago at a friend's barbecue in Spokane. She was 22, wearing a pale green dress, hair tied high, her smile bright as sunlight. She was in nursing school, full of fire, always talking about helping people. I was a 21-year-old grunt, fresh from basic, drawn to her gentleness and sharp eyes. We talked till midnight, about favorite books, about dreaming of a little house by the river. 8 months later, under a sunset on the Spokane River, I got down on one knee, holding a simple ring I'd saved up for with my soldier's pay, and asked, "Lydia, will you marry me?" She cried, nodded, and said, "I'll go with you, anywhere." 13 years of marriage weren't always smooth. I deployed for time twice to Iraq, twice to Afghanistan, each tour leaving gaps between us. But Lydia, at least in the early years, was my anchor. She sent handwritten letters, homemade cookies, video calls through the base's spotty connection. I still remember her letters from Iraq, every word dripping with love, tucked in my pocket like a talisman. I remember coming home, Lydia running to me at the airport, throwing herself into my arms, tears soaking my uniform. "Don't go again, Ethan," she'd whisper. But we both knew I was a soldier, and the Army was where I belonged. Our house in Tacoma was the dream we built together. In 2014, I bought it with AVA loan, my name alone on the mortgage because of military paperwork. But I added Lydia to the deed because I wanted her to feel it was ours. 3 bedrooms, a small yard with a white daisy fence, nothing fancy, but it was home. I laid the kitchen stone myself, built the coffee table, fixed the roof every rainy season. Lydia decorated it with paintings she picked, curtains she sewed, and dinners filled with laughter. "This is our forever," she said, her hand tight in mine. I believed her. I always did. But 6 months before this deployment, things started to shift. Lydia got quieter, stopped asking about my day. She started working late at the dental clinic where she was a receptionist, hitting the gym 3 times a week, but never shared details. Her phone had a new password, and she dodged questions about new friends. I didn't get jealous, didn't pry. I'm not that guy. I figured she needed space, that being a soldier's wife could weigh heavy. I held her closer, told her I loved her, hoped things would settle. The night before I shipped out, at Tacoma Airport, Lydia hugged me, but it felt off, hollow, like she was just going through the motions. "Stay safe," she said, her eyes dry, not a tear in sight. I looked at her, wanting to ask what was wrong, but the boarding call crackled through the speakers. I kissed her forehead, walked away, carrying a bad feeling I couldn't shake. For 4 months in Kandahar, I called her every week, but her answers were short, her voice distant. Her emails dwindled, and I started to worry. But I told myself, she's just busy. She's still my Lydia. Until that day, I opened my laptop in the barracks, its hum blending with the desert wind. There was an email from Lydia, subject line, "Let's be adults about this." My heart skipped, like I'd just missed a step into a void. I clicked, and a short line stabbed me in the chest. She wanted a divorce, a PDF-attached divorce. Papers, cold as a blade. "We've gone too far to fix this," she wrote. I filed. "Sign it and let's end this cleanly. No apology, no explanation. Just ice, like our 13 years meant nothing." I read the email 3 times, my hands shaking on the keyboard. Kandahar's dust still clung to my shoulders, heavy as lead. I thought of Lydia's handwritten letters, our Tacoma house, Baxter, the dreams we'd shared. I thought of the nights I stayed up in Iraq, clutching our wedding photo to remember someone was waiting. Now, It was all crumbling to sand. I closed the laptop, stepped outside the barracks, breathed the dry air deep. The sky was full of stars, but they didn't shine like they used to. I stood there, in the middle of the desert, feeling like my world had collapsed. But then I opened the laptop again, logged into the home security system, the one I'd set up to keep Lydia safe when I was gone. The screen lit up, and my heart stopped. A stranger, tall, messy hair, sat on my couch, holding my coffee mug. Wearing my hoodie, Lydia walked in, laughing with him, her eyes free of regret. Rage surged, a furnace roaring in my chest. But I didn't yell, didn't break anything. I'm a soldier, I know restraint. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. Lydia thought she could erase me with a click. She didn't know who I was. This fight was just beginning, and I don't lose. The night after Lydia's email, I sat in the Kandahar barracks, the faint glow of my old laptop washing over my face. Rage growled inside me like a caged beast. But I forced myself to breathe, sucking in the dry, dusty desert air. My hands shook. As I opened the home security system, something Lydia didn't think to remember, I could access from thousands of miles away. The screen flickered on, and my heart ripped apart. Travis, a stranger with a sleazy smirk, lounged on my couch, his filthy boots propped on the coffee table I'd built by hand 3 years ago. He held my Seahawks coffee mug, bought at our first game together, sipping like he owned it. He wore my hoodie, the one I left in the closet with Lydia's note from 10 years ago. "You're my home." I zoomed in, and the pain turned to fire. Lydia stepped into view, wearing a red dress I'd never seen, pricey, with diamond earrings. Catching the kitchen light, she giggled, draped an arm over Travis's shoulder, whispered something that made him laugh. They stood in the kitchen I laid stone for, where we used to slow dance under dim lights, where Lydia once sobbed on my shoulder when her dad passed. Now she laughed with this guy, her eyes gleaming like our 13 years of marriage were. Just a tired story she wanted to bury. I rewound the footage, hunting for a trace of regret. Nothing. Just a shamelessness that set my blood boiling. Travis took Baxter for a walk, calling him Max, like he was erasing every mark of me. Lydia picked up our wedding photo, flipped it face down on the table without a flinch. Worse, I caught her on a speakerphone call with a friend. Her voice was light but cold. "Ethan, he won't do a thing. He's out in Kandahar, Clueless. What's a soldier good for?" She laughed, and Travis cut in, his voice rough. "Yeah, guy just holds a gun and takes orders. Total loser." Every word was a blade sinking into my chest. I remembered the nights Lydia curled up in my arms, whispering she'd wait through every war. I remembered her letters from Iraq, each line full of love, tucked in my pocket like a lifeline. I remembered her hand in mine when we bought the Tacoma house, promising to make it our forever. Now she wasn't just betraying me, she was mocking me, mocking the months I risked my life on the battlefield, the nights I stayed up worrying for her. I played more footage, and one scene made me want to smash the screen. Travis sat in my armchair, flipping through my journal pages about my missions, my longing for Lydia, and laughed. "Listen, Lydia, your husband writes like a dime store romance." He read aloud a bit about our wedding, his voice dripping with scorn. Lydia cackled, clapping. "God, he's always been so sappy. Travis, you saved me from that dull life." I clenched my fists, nails cutting into my palms, blood trickling, but I didn't feel it. The real pain was the fire in my heart, torching every good memory of Lydia. Another clip showed Lydia rifling through my closet, yanking out the army jacket from my first deployment. She tossed it to the floor, stomped on it like garbage. "His stuff stinks of sweat and sand," she muttered, then turned to Travis. "Burn it. I want nothing of him left." Travis shrugged, grabbed the jacket, and threw it in the trash bin outside. They laughed, wrapped their arms around each other, while Baxter barked wildly, like he felt the betrayal took. Each detail was another stab. The times Lydia lied about working late at the dental clinic, the new dresses I'd never seen, the phone password she thought I didn't notice. I remembered her hollow hug at the airport before I deployed, her dry stay safe like she was brushing off a stranger. While I faced bombs and bullets, Lydia turned our home into a stage for her lies. The rage surged. But I'm a soldier. I don't let emotions run the show. I'll wait and I'll act. Lydia thinks she's won. She's dead wrong. The next morning, a bank alert stopped me cold. Our joint account holding $90. Zero we'd saved over years, money for retirement. For the trips Lydia used to dream about was down to $20.37. Lydia had drained it, funneled to an account I didn't know. I called the bank from the base, my voice calm, but sharp as a blade. The clerk stammered. Lydia started moving money the day I left Tacoma. Small amounts to avoid suspicion, then a big $150,000 hours after the divorce in mail. I sat in the dim barracks, feeling the ground crumble beneath me, but I didn't stop. I logged into our online banking, combed through every transaction, and a darker truth emerged. Lydia had forged my signature to pull a $350,000 refinance on the house my house, titled only in my name through the VA loan. I found the documents, my signature clumsily copied, the stroke shaky like someone tried to mimic it. I remembered Lydia asking about the house deed, her voice sweet, but her eyes distant. Just curious, honey, she'd said, and I'd trusted her. Now I saw it. She'd been planning this for months, maybe since I was still in Tacoma, still holding her every night. That night, I dug through more transactions, and a grim picture took shape. Lydia wasn't alone. Travis, her boyfriend with to-doists and a fraud charge, was a pawn in a criminal ring targeting military families. He worked with Miles Carter, a slick real estate agent with a fake smile and shady clients. They preyed on wives with husbands at war, convincing them to sell homes below market value, then splitting the profits. I found proof. $15,000 from the forged refinance went to Carter, earnest money to list my house. I rewound the cameras, and one clip made my blood roar. Travis and Carter stood in my living room, plotting like the house was already theirs. Lydia says her husband's got no clue. Travis sneered, his voice thick with beer. He's in the desert, dodging bombs, too busy to notice this stuff. Carter nodded, his voice smooth as oil. Perfect. Listed at $450. Sell quick to my buyer. We split the cash. This soldier won't have time to blink. They laughed. Clinked beers my beers from my fridge like they'd already won. Carter slapped Travis's shoulder. You're a genius, picking the right mark. Lydia's like a puppy. Does whatever you say. Travis grinned. She's been done with that husband for years. He's just a shadow, not worth her time. I gripped the laptop, wanting to crush it, but I held back. Those words didn't just target me, they targeted every soldier, every family trusting their home was safe. I thought of Jake, my buddy from Iraq, who came home to an empty house and bank account. I thought of Sarah, another soldier's wife, who told me how she nearly lost her home to a helpful agent. Now I knew Lydia and Travis weren't just stealing from me. They were part of a machine crushing the dreams of men like me. Another clip pushed my rage higher. Lydia threw a party at my house with friends I'd never met. They danced, drank, and I heard one of her friends ask, "Don't you feel guilty? Ethan's out there fighting, and you're doing this." Lydia shrugged, smirked. Guilty. He chose that soldier life, not me. I deserve to live for me, not wait for a guy who's never home. Travis slurred. Damn right. He thinks he's a hero, but he's just a fool we're fleecing. The room erupted in laughter, and Lydia raised her glass, toasting my downfall. Images flashed in my head. Other soldiers bleeding on battlefields, believing their families were safe, kids losing their homes, wives manipulated, dreams stolen. I thought of letters from military families, thanking me for helping them through hard times. The rage wasn't just mine anymore, it was a fire burning for justice, for soldiers betrayed, for homes torn apart. Lydia, Travis, Carter, they weren't just my enemies. They were enemies of every soldier. But I didn't scream, didn't smash anything. I remembered my dad's words. Anger's a weapon, but only if you know how to wield it. I closed my eyes, breathed deep, and let the rage forge me into a sharper blade. Lydia and Travis thought I was easy prey. They didn't know I was a hunter, setting my trap. In the dark of the barracks, I sat at my laptop, eyes burning like I was planning a life or death mission. Kandahar's dust clung to my shoulders, but my mind was clearer than ever. I didn't call Lydia, didn't send threats, didn't let her know I was watching. Instead, I emailed Lucas, an army buddy turned lawyer, with a short line, "Need legal help. Discreet, urgent." Lucas replied within an hour, "Call me, secure line. I've got you." The call with Lucas stretched past midnight. "What do you have?" he asked, his voice low but sharp. I laid it out. The camera footage of Travis and Lydia, the bank transactions, the forged documents. "I've got enough to bury them," I said, "but I need the FBI involved. This isn't just about me. Other families are getting hit. Lucas went quiet, then said, "You're playing big, Ethan. I get it. Send me everything. I'll reach out to the FBI. I checked the moves I'd made before, 6 months ago, when Lydia started working late and hitting the gym sessions, where she never broke a sweat. I smelled trouble. I quietly moved key documents, birth certificate, marriage license, house deed to a storage unit in Tacoma, locked with a code only I knew. I opened a separate account at another bank, diverting part of my pay, just enough that Lydia wouldn't notice, but enough to keep me from starting at zero. If things went south, I secured the VA loan and my military pension, setting up two-factor authentication so she couldn't touch them. I remember the small signs I'd ignored. Lydia asking about our bank accounts, her voice sweet, but her eyes dodging mine. Her forgotten replies to my texts from the base. Her talk of a new life with a spark in her voice, like I wasn't part of it. I'd thought it was stress, that she needed time. Now I saw she checked out long ago, just waiting for the moment to gut me. Every night, I sat at my laptop, reviewing the security footage, logging every move Lydia and Travis made. I watched her toss my vinyl record collection discs I gathered since college into the trash, replacing them with Travis's cheap Bluetooth speaker. I watched him burn a fire in the backyard, using one from the bookshelf I'd built. Laughing as Lydia called him manlier than me, I watched Lydia dig through my trunk, pulling out the medal I earned in Afghanistan, then tossing it in a corner like junk. "This crap's worthless," she muttered, and Travis laughed. "Sell it. Buy yourself something nice." I saved every clip, time-stamped every moment, sent them to Lucas with the bank records and forged documents. I made a list. Contact FBI, check property laws, request emergency leave, lock down pension accounts, verify camera access. No details slipped through. Every clip, every transaction, every taunt from Lydia and Travis only sharpened me like a blade honed on stone. Cole, my bunkmate, caught the tension in my eyes one night. "You good, Ethan?" he asked, not looking up from his book. "Stuff back home," I said, voice low. Cole nodded, didn't push. Soldiers know when to leave it alone. I remembered Iraq, where one wrong move could kill the whole team. I learned patience, how to wait for the perfect moment to strike. I remembered nights in Afghanistan, writing letters to Lydia, dreaming of coming home to a house full of laughter. Those dreams were ash now, but I didn't break. I'm a soldier, and soldiers don't quit. I opened my laptop, typed one last email to Lucas. "I've got the evidence. FBI needs to move now. I want them to pay not just for me, but for every soldier they've screwed." I hit send, and a cold smile curved my lips. The fight was on, and I don't lose. I stood, stepped outside the barracks, and stared at Kandahar's star-filled sky. Dust clung to my shoulders, but it didn't weigh me down anymore. Lydia, Travis, Carter, they thought they'd broken me. They didn't know that in this desert, I learned to turn pain into power, rage into a weapon. I'd come back to Tacoma, not as a betrayed husband, but as a warrior ready to take back everything and more. 2 months after my last email to Lucas, I set foot back in Tacoma, no warning given. Kandahar's dust still clung to my mind, but I wasn't the betrayed husband sitting silent in the barracks anymore. I was a warrior, ready to end this fight. I didn't call Lydia, didn't text. Instead, I checked into a motel under a fake name and met Lucas at a diner 10 miles from the house. "You look like you crawled out of hell," Lucas said, sliding the coffee across the table. "Feels like it," I replied, but the corner of my mouth twitched up. In Lucas's hand was a thick folder, camera footage, bank transactions, forged documents, everything needed to bury Lydia, Travis, and Miles Carter. Lucas had contacted the FBI 3 weeks earlier, and they were tracking Travis and Carter's operation. "They've done this to 14 other military families," Lucas said, his voice low. "But your case is the key, the cameras, the documents. You built their case for them." I nodded, but my mind was fixed on one thing. I wanted to look Lydia in the eye when she realized she lost. Lucas shook his head when I mentioned confronting her. "Don't, Ethan. Let the FBI handle it." But I wasn't listening. I needed her to know I wasn't the fool she mocked from afar. The next morning, I drove to my house, parked a block away. I opened my laptop, checked the security cameras. Travis and Carter were in the living room, scheming about selling the place. "Lydia's worried her husband might kick up a fuss," Travis said, his voice dripping with scorn. "But don't sweat it. He won't do squat. Soldiers just salute and shut up. Carter laughed. Listed this week for 150 grand. We split the cash, head to Vegas. I gripped the steering wheel. But I waited out at 10 a.m. FBI vehicles quietly surrounded the house. I watched through the cameras as they stormed in, cuffed Travis and Carter, and led them out like trapped rats. Lydia pulled up minutes later, arms full of new designer bags, only to freeze at the chaos. She stood on the lawn, hand over her mouth, eyes wild. That's when I stepped out from the corner, walking toward her slow and steady. Ethan, Lydia stammered, her bags hitting the ground. What are you doing here? I stopped a few feet away, my eyes cold as steel. Be adults about this, right, Lydia? This is me being an adult. She tried to speak, her voice shaking. I didn't know Travis was doing all that. He tricked me. Ethan, you have to believe me. I pulled out my phone, played a recording from the cameras, her laughing with Travis, saying I was clueless in Kandahar. Her face went pale. You were spying on me? No, I said, my voice low. I was protecting what's mine and what belongs to the other families you and Travis robbed. I turned my back, leaving her standing there, quietly sobbing as the FBI tore through the house. But I wasn't done. I sent the final footage to Agent Patel with a note. They were planning the sale today. Finish this. 3 months later, I sat in the FBI's Tacoma office, listening to Agent Patel's update. Travis got 10 years for fraud, conspiracy, and identity theft. Miles Carter took 14. With my evidence as the cornerstone that cracked their 3-state ring, they scammed 14 military families, stealing millions from soldiers like me. Because of you, Ethan, Patel said, handing me a file. We recovered $1.2 million to return to the victims. These families owe you big. Lydia was a different story. She swore Travis manipulated her, but the footage and bank records showed she knew the plan. She agreed to a deal, repaid the full $90,000 she drained, plus the $350, zero from the forged refinance, and forfeit any claim to the house or my military pension. In return, I didn't press charges for the forgery, but I added one condition. She had to write a public apology letter to every victimized family. I wanted her to live with that shame. The plot twist came a week after the trial, when Lucas called. Ethan, you won't believe this, he said, his voice buzzing. Lydia tried selling some of your stuff online, your grandfather's watch, your army medal to cover her debts. She didn't know you moved them to storage. I laughed. The first real laugh in months. Lydia hadn't just lost everything, she dug her own grave deeper. I sold the Tacoma house right after the divorce was finalized. Too many memories, too many knife wounds. With the money, I bought a cabin in Montana, 2 bedrooms, 12 acres, a stream whispering out back. I retired after 20 years in the Army, took Baxter with me, and started a new life. I opened a small woodworking shop, crafting tables and chairs for locals, living off my pension and a piece no one could steal. One afternoon, a letter came from a woman in San Diego. Her husband, a sailor, nearly lost their home to Travis and Carter. You don't know me, she wrote, but you saved our family. Thank you for fighting when no one else would. I pinned the letter to the wall, next to a photo of Baxter running through Montana's fields. Every time I looked at it, I remembered that from the ashes of betrayal. I'd done something bigger than myself. That night, I sat on the porch, Baxter curled up beside me, watching the sunset blaze red over the mountains. Lydia was in some small town now, working as a clinic receptionist, carrying a stain she'd never wash off. Travis and Carter rotted in prison, paying for their greed. And me, I'd taken back what was mine, and more I'd given hope back to other soldiers. Kandahar's dust didn't cling to my shoulders anymore. I took a sip of beer, smiled. Lydia thought she could destroy me, but I'm Ethan Caldwell, a warrior, and warriors don't fall.